Coach, a couple of weeks ago, I think we talked about your rotation. You said that's always going to be an ongoing thing as the games play out. Or obviously, kind of getting down the home stretch of the non-conference schedule with SEC play starting later this month. Are you a bit closer with that rotation, or is it still something that's playing out?
Well, if you look at our stat sheet like I just did, we got 13 guys that are averaging 8 minutes or more. So I would say it's still a work in progress. Certainly there are some guys that have established themselves, and you guys that have watched us know who they are, but we're still searching for some consistency in spots like 8, 9, 10, and we've got some candidates that we've been shuffling in and out of there during the games, and certainly, practice is, equally important in terms of the evaluation of where they're at. And most of them are, young players, and some grow faster than others, and some react to the game minutes better than others, and we're still feel like we're getting to know each other better, and certainly the games are a great platform for them to see where they're at and for us to evaluate them. But eventually, we're going to have to settle in more than likely once we get into SEC play, but we still have 4 games for those guys to kind of show us where they're at.
We'll go second row to Danny P.
Coach, I know you've had a lot of experience probably navigating exam week and all the adjustments to the schedule that brings, but what are the challenges this week with a road game on Saturday?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, this is a less challenging week than most for me. We've played plenty of games during finals in the past, and either right at the end or right before, and sometimes at home, sometimes on the road. And with 8 days between games, we'll be completely done with finals before we have to travel to Minnesota. So, it'll be no problem for us to give them ample time to do what they need to do to take care of their books, and that they're prepared for all of their finals. And we've been talking about it for, weeks up until this point to stay on top of it and, play with the lead. It's more fun to play with the lead than to play from behind. And, hopefully we'll be in good shape this week.
Go to Theo to Coach's right.
Yeah, the year before you got to New Mexico State, they lost to Colorado State by 3. The first year you were there, they beat them by 13. How do you approach it when it comes to kind of a rematch where you weren't really there for the first one? How much can you learn from what the players tell you about last year's game against Minnesota?
I won't ask them a thing. I won't even watch the tape, to be honest with you. Teams are so different from year to year now with the portal and the transferring that's going on that it'll make no difference or bearing on this result of this year's team or this year's matchup. It's never even crossed my mind, to be honest with you, to watch that game. I couldn't even tell you who won or lost the game when they played last year off the top of my head. So, we're obviously knee-deep in preparation for our first true road game against a Big Ten opponent in their barn, and I'm looking forward to it.
Again, questions, raise your hand. We'll get the microphone to you. Let's go back to Paul.
Go ahead and ask you about the first net rankings. I know that's going to be an ever-changing thing, and the first one is kind of, I wouldn't say skew because there's a lot to play out with conference, but kind of surprised you being number 5?
I didn't even know they were out. I got a text from a cousin back home telling me where we were ranked. I'm like, they're out? I didn't even know. It wasn't like it was Christmas morning for me and had to open the presents. I wasn't tracking on that. But anytime we can get attention for our program, I've said that before, and get our fans excited and continue to, back these young men that are playing their hearts out, it's a good thing. And obviously, it's a very important metric. But like you said, we're 3+ months to where it really, really matters. But I'm sure our kids will be made aware of it before we meet this afternoon and practice, and we'll talk about it and make sure it's in perspective. But, I'd rather be on that end of the totem pole than the other. But like we all know, there's lots of basketball to be played, and there'll be a lot of fluctuations throughout the year.
Go back to Paul. David, do you have anything at the table, or are you okay? Okay.
I know in a perfect world, you would rather Rams Davis be healthy and not miss a beat. But with his absence, you knew Horton was going to be playing point guard. But even when Horton was out, you got Shaq some time at point guard and DJ some time at point guard. How does that help you down the road when you may be faced with a situation with other injuries or foul trouble, just to be able to depend on those guys and get tape of seeing them play point guard too?
Yeah, you're spot on. There's always some silver lining when one of your main guys is out. You don't like it. Nobody likes it. Staff, the players, the fans. But eventually we'll look back and say that was invaluable for the young men that you mentioned and for our staff and our team to be able to see how we can play without him and see who's ready to play certain positions, or if they can slide over and play different positions. And it also, get your brain working in a different light, if you will, to explore different options and lineups. And we've done a lot of that, certainly in the games, but even more so in practice. And that's the only silver lining that comes with when someone of Ram's stature is out. And but we're looking forward to eventually getting him back. And that's what college basketball is a marathon. You're going to be without guys. I can't remember a year where you didn't miss someone for a game at the minimum, or a stretch of games, or for the season for that matter. And so no one's going to care, and no one's going to feel sorry for you. That's just how college basketball is, and you have to learn to adjust. And that's why we tell our players, always to be ready, because opportunities will present themselves to you, and you got to, meet that opportunity. But there definitely is some silver lining with it.
We will go to the table, and David, go ahead.
When you talk about the self-scouting that you're doing during this time as well, and you look at the tape, you break it down, analyze it, and then you look at the stat sheet, is there anything that maybe you look at, say, well, the stat sheet doesn't square with that for good or bad, or vice versa, something in the game that doesn't match the stat sheet?
Yeah, all the time. Numbers don't lie, but we have access to so many numbers in this day and age with all the different metrics that are available by people much smarter than me that put these equations together to tell you what you're good at and what you're not. But the feel and the eye test to me is always what matters most. Like tempo, for instance. People like to talk about tempo. And it just befuddles me when people say, well, if your tempo is a certain number or your possessions are a certain number, then you don't play fast, or you don't play an exciting brand of basketball. If you look at the difference of possession length, you're talking about 0.8 seconds difference of a team that's in the hundreds compared to a team in the 200s. And really, like it just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it's such minuscule in my opinion, the differences in things of that nature. So there are definitely things out there that people like to look at that I could care less about, and I think it has no bearing on the results of the game, which is most important. But we're definitely doing what you said and trying to, get our Mississippi State cap off and get another team's cap on and look at us of where are we vulnerable? How are people scoring at us, and whatever themes are there for us, and try to fix it when we got this time in between games, and try to shore up, our defense and rebounding, and obviously get better on offense at the same time. That was the one thing that stuck out, and I know you didn't ask about this, but in the game on Saturday is we played 40 minutes of zone offense, and we were pleasantly surprised by how well we executed the sets that we ran, how we got into our breakdown, and how we shared the ball, got into some gaps. We had some big-to-big passing. We got on the glass, and so that will help us because we'll eventually get zoned again, and we'll have that experience to rely on.
Before we go to Theo, just want to let everybody know the AP poll just came out. Mississippi State is ranked 23rd in the week's AP poll. Theo, go ahead.
Well, Matt just spoiled my question right there. I just saw that. But as you mentioned last week, how good is it to see that reward for your program being in the top 25?
Again, it's a feather in the program's cap. I think our kids will have fun with it. I think they'll be excited. And one of two things will happen. They'll either think that they've arrived and done something, and that paper champion thing will be talked about this afternoon, or it'll motivate them more, and they'll want more, and they'll continue to stay hungry and work even harder and buy in even more to what we're doing and how we need to play for this team to be successful. But like I've been saying, I mean, anytime we can get recognized for what we're doing, we're not going to shy away from it.